Yo, what's going on, family? This your boy back with another video. Just want to give all thanks and praise to the Most High, man, for the opportunity to come amongst you guys one more time and build. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, I got this video for y'all today, man, on some research. You know what I'm saying? I've been digging into, been looking upon, and you know, as always, I want the family outlook or intake on it. You know what I'm saying? And see if they got some pieces, you know what I'm saying? Cause we just building, man. It's just research. We just building, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, without further ado, I just want to go ahead and get into this information. But I also want to say, man, I'm not gonna be, you know, chopping it up with the clips. I do got some clips for y'all, you know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna just go ahead and play them. You know what I'm saying? And I know my computer or whatnot, I think it'd be echoing or something when I do it like that, but it don't really matter. Just if it's too bad, you know, just look at the video title, go look it up and just catch the video, you know what I'm saying, and come back, you know, to my video or whatnot, and we'll keep building like that. But you know what I'm saying? So like I say, without further ado, man, let's go ahead and dig. Okay, so what got me digging, you know, and on the hunt to make this particular video was when I watched the brother Lex Will's video, The Lion is Still Asleep, you know what I'm saying, when he hadn't dropped it. And so it was very interesting what the brother had said right here. But as you can see, we're talking about, you know, the video is about like Egyptian artifacts in the Grand Canyon. You know what I'm saying? As you can see right here, say lost Egyptian civilization in Arizona. But check out what the brother say. You know what I'm saying? Because it's very interesting.
They went in from the Grand Canyon and they searched the caves and they fucking came out in Arizona. So doesn't it make sense that the Moab desert is over part and the part that led to Arizona is the part that leads to Arizona, Peor, Beth Peor.
Okay, man. So you know, I found that very interesting. You know what I'm saying? Talking about Beth Peor and this cave system, you know, from the Moab desert, just known in Arizona and things like that. But so what we gonna do, man? We just gonna build. All right. So to refresh some of you guys' memory, I don't know how many of you caught the Moab and Utah video I did, but if you remember, we was making the connection of Baal Peor to the Sumerian god Chamos, right? Let's see if we can find it. Alright, right here. That's a Balaam, though still a son of Beor. And this narrative is a prophet of Chamos, right? The Shemitic sun god. The word Chamos is still the Hebrew word for sun. Alright? Okay, if this reflects that the god that El refers to in the biblical text concerning Balaam and the connection between Balaam and Baal Peor is accurate, then Baal Peor can be identified as Chamos, right? And we know what the Shemitic sun god is called Shamash, right? Okay, so now when you go to the Jewish encyclopedia, you look up Baal Peor, it'll tell you the first thing you see right here, right? Name of a Canaanite god. Okay, now that's crazy. That's also kind of interesting because I remember when right here, you know what I'm saying, in this video they were talking about Oriental and Egyptian. You know, just right, if you go back just a little bit, let me see if I can do it without this joker acting crazy. Okay, real quick.
Assholes have found a hidden complex of catacombs filled with Oriental and Egyptian artifacts. Now, what people group was known to be around the Oriental, the Canaanite,
okay, bam. That's all we want right there.
and the Egyptian, right?
Okay, that's all we want right there. Alright, so let's go back over here, right? So Baal Peor, name of a Canaanite god. Peor was a mountain in Nebo. Okay, hence the special locality Beth Peor, right? What he was talking about. Okay, it gives its name to Baal, who was there worshipped, and to whose service rule before entrance into Canaan was for a brief time attractive. Okay, the god is himself also called Peor by abbreviation. Okay, so when we jump down a little bit, okay, the context seems to favor his view on account of the shameful, licentious. Okay, now that's important, right? We're gonna get into that. Into licentiousness, excuse me. We're gonna get into that, but anyways, into which many of the Israelites were there enticed. Okay, remember they joined themselves to Baal Peor, right, and Shittim in the forest and around the incorruptible wood and the cedar trees and stuff like that. Okay, but all Baal worship encouraged this sin. Okay, and Peor may not have been worse than any other shrines in this respect. Though the evil there was certainly flagrant. Okay, now check out what it said right here, right? In Hosea, what's that, 9 verse 10, I guess Baal Peor is the same as Beth Peor, right? And it's contracted from Beth Baal Peor. Now this term right here, Beth Baal Peor, is very interesting, because when you Google when you're looking up Beth Peor first, we're gonna dig into Beth Peor a little bit. Just, for those who don't know, it just means this right here, House of Peor. Excuse me, right? Temple of Peor, a place in Moab, either Jordan opposite Jericho, right? You know what I'm saying? So y'all digging on that. But let me see, right? Beth Peor. House of Peor, right? So essentially, Beth Peor just means house of Peor, or house of Shemesh, house of the sun, right? So now what's very interesting about all this is that when I Google, Peor, just Peor, and I got this Wikipedia tab, I want to show you guys what this particular translation of the name says, right? It says, a reference to a divinity who was worshipped at the mountain peak, right? And biblically was the subject of the heresy of Peor, right? The joining of Peor in Shittim, right? The divinity worshipped by the Moabites. Hey, forgive me for this little thing that keep popping up on my, excuse my language, but man, ever since, all this research been, I've been digging, man, like my computer been tripping, you know what I'm saying? Like, for real, like these folks been just hacking, all that. For real though, man. It's moving unusually slow, man. So I just appreciate y'all for rocking with me and bearing with me. You know what I'm saying? Cause I'm pretty sure them clips I just played, they probably gonna be echoing or skipping. You know what I'm saying? What it is. Let's keep going though. They say the divinity worshipped by the Moabites is biblically referred to as Baal Peor. Set of verses right here you can go check out. Now check out what they say right here. Literally meaning the Baal of Peor, right? The Lord, right? Baal means Lord of the house of Horus. Now I'm like, damn. I'm like, okay, well, damn. That's crazy, right? And now, even if you keep going to say an Aramaic inscription found at Deir Allah identifies Balaam as a prophet of Shemeth, right? Just like the other tab said, and it say a Semitic sun god, and consequently, it could well be the case that the unidentified Baal of Peor is Shemeth, right? But what's the real drop? You know what I'm saying? That we really looking at is this. You remember from Jewish Encyclopedia, it say Baal Peor is the same as Beth Peor and is contracted from Beth Baal Peor. But this three word term right here, Beth, Baal, and Peor, like this tracks that to what Baal of Peor, the Lord Hathor, the Baal house, the Beth Peor, the Shemitic, sun, Horus, sun, Ra, right? So, you know what I'm saying? So, when you do your digging and whatnot, and you look like, okay, house of Horus, house of Ra, because Ra and Horus, I guess when you're looking at it, they really eventually become, you know, like the same deity, and like the Egyptian pantheon, I guess. So, but when you look at, for House of Horus, or House of Ra, or City of Ra, you know what I'm saying, City of Horus, you get some interesting things. Okay, so, when you, like I say, when you do that, particular, research on House of Ra, House of Horus, something like that, see what you can find, and, you know, City of Ra, City of Horus, you get Heliopolis, right? So Heliopolis, City of the Sun, right? Beth Peor, House of the Sun, Beth Shemesh, House of Sun, or Beth Horus, House of Horus, still House of Sun, right? Or City of Helios, Egyptian, whatever that is, was one of the oldest cities of ancient Egypt, the capital of the 13th or Heliopolite nome of Lower Egypt. Okay, let's skip down now. This is for the ancient Egyptian cult center Anu, occasionally spelled Anu, named On, in the Hebrew Bible. So the city of the sun, Heliopolis, the ancient Egyptian city, is also called On, and that's the ancient Egyptian city of On in the Bible, right? It was renamed Heliopolis by the Greeks. You know, Helio, Greek. In recognition of the fact that the sun god Ra, Helios in Greek, presided there, right? House, you know what it is. Ionu is mentioned in the pyramid text as House of Ra, right? Okay, House of Ra, House of Horus. However, because as you're going to see, like I said, these two deities are both sun gods, but they eventually kind of like become the same deity. The name Heliopolis is of ancient Greek, meaning city of the sun, as it was the principal seat of the sun god Ra, right? And the closely related deity Atum. Originally, the ancient city was known by the Egyptians as Iunu, right? As they said up there, that is what? House of Ra, right? And Iunu is mentioned in the pyramid text as House of Ra. Okay. Let me see. Okay. You know, so it means place of pillars. In biblical Hebrew, Heliopolis was referred to as On, right? Or Awen. Alright, so let's see. The Egyptian god Atum was the chief deity of the city of Iunu, Heliopolis, and was worshipped in the primary temple known as Per-At. Alright. Per-Atum, house of Atum, right? House of sun. Okay. Although in later times, as Horus gained in prominence, worship focused on the syncretic solar deity. See, they are solar deities. He became Ra Harati, literally Ra, who is Horus of the two horizons. So you see what I'm saying? Like House of Horus, House of Ra, it could all lead back to the same essential thing, which is House of Sun. You feel what I'm saying? That's what we're looking at. Now, what's crazy about that is House of the Sun, or House of Ra, Heliopolis, the biblical city of On, is also called in the Bible, or referred to in the Bible as Beth Shemesh. Right? So, okay, we're gonna go over here to Bible study tools. We're gonna look up the biblical city of On, light, right? The sun. Check out them. We're gonna come back to that. the great seat of sun worship, also called Beth Shemesh, right? That's the Shemitic way to say house of sun. You see what I'm saying? Beth Shemesh, right? Remember what the heresy of Peor tab said about Baal Peor, right? He was Balaam was the prophet of Shemesh. Out the way, was a prophet of Shemesh, right? The Shemitic sun god, right? The word Shemesh is still Hebrew for sun, right? So Shamash, Shemesh is still sun. So you know what I'm saying? If they're gonna say that Baal Peor is accurate, then Baal Peor can be identified as Shemesh. So Peor would then, translate to Shemesh or sun the same way they got it on this tab, translating Peor translating to Horus. Essentially is what? The sun, right? Let's see. Okay, so, where were we? Alright, so it was also On. The city of On is also called Beth Shemesh, right? Let's see what we want. The Vulgate and the LXX versions have Heliopolis, city of sun, instead of On, right? You see it, city of sun. Maybe the name given to On, the prophecy being that the time will come when the city, which is known as the city of the sun god, shall become the city of destruction of the sun god, i.e. when adultery shall cease and worship of the true God shall be established. Okay, so okay, and just to kind of prove that it's not just On that is the name for that Egyptian biblical city, but it's also Beth Shemesh. We're gonna go to Jeremiah chapter 43 verse 13, and it says right here, he shall we're gonna start at 12. It say, and I will kindle a fire in the houses of the gods of Egypt, right? The gods, who was the gods? Ra, Horus, right? So in the houses of Ra, Horus, and he shall burn them and carry them away captives. He shall array himself with the land of Egypt, as a shepherd putteth on his garment. He shall go forth from thence in peace. He shall break also the images of Beth Shemesh, right? That is in the land of Egypt, and the houses of the gods of the Egyptians shall burn with fire, right? So Beth is telling you right here that Beth Shemesh is in the land of Egypt, right? On Heliopolis, also called Beth Shemesh. But now, so understand one thing, you know what I'm saying? Beth Shemesh is just Beth Shemesh, house of the sun. It's a couple Beth Shemeshes, you feel what I'm saying? Because anywhere they got this house of sun worship throughout their lands, you feel what I'm saying? It would be called Beth Shemesh. So as you look, as you can see, there's, you got Beth Shemesh of Judah in the Judah territories, Beth Shemesh of Naphtali. Hold on, Okay, so as you see, Beth Shemesh of Judah. You got one of Issachar, Naphtali. Okay, then you got the Beth Shemesh that's in the land of Egypt, right? Okay, so catch this, but this on Bible Hub. But right here, I'm gonna just start right here. If Beth Shemesh is with the house of the sun, then the balancing of the statement would only be only between the pillars and houses, but it seems more naturally to be between Beth Shemesh, a Semitic place of worship that is in the land of Egypt, on one hand, and the Egyptian place of worship, the houses of the gods of Egypt, on the other, right? So that's kind of important right there, what they saying. Right, you got the Shemitic place of Egyptian house of sun worship on one end, and then the Egyptian house of the gods of Egypt on the other. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of interesting. Okay, now so trying to put this thing in perspective, you know what I'm saying, with our land over here in America. And we're looking at, you know, the Utah territory that or the Moab territory that, excuse me, not can just be limited to the Utah area. As you can see, back in the day, the provinces or territory was a little bit more expanded. You know what I'm saying? But so what we're looking at is the place of Moab and the Moab desert being in that Utah Four Corners territory, and then this Egyptian city, right, that they're finding in the Grand Canyon, and we're trying to see what's up with that, because we got a Beth Peor, you know what I'm saying, a Beth, or a house of the sun, or a house of the Lord, or excuse me, the Lord of the house of horrors, right? And so checking out this article right here, man, it says ancient Egypt came to America. Was biblical Joseph king over an Egyptian empire in the USA? Evidence says yes. Alright, so we're gonna dig into this. Okay, so this is a little artifact they found, right? Shoe, the crocodile was the soul that King Zaphnath Joseph chose. This was the first known crocodile hieroglyph for any king in Egypt. Alright, I'm gonna just, you know, put some little bits and pieces out of that. Like right here, I scrolled down a little bit to say, many generations ago, when Egypt was becoming less than prosperous, a man who was blessed by God and that he was given the gift of interpreting dreams came to the United States of America, right? Came to the United States of America to establish a second Egyptian empire. His name was Joseph, son of Jacob. Alright, so check this part out right here. Hold on for 1 second. Alright. You know, we're talking about, you know how the story go, but I just wanted to give you some of the little, you know, Pharaoh found favor in his wisdom, and Joseph gained much respect and power. As a result, Joseph became king of Egypt, right? And would then be called Zaphnath the crocodile. The dream God gave Joseph prophesied coming, drop, and suffering, which he relayed to the Pharaoh. These dreams allowed them to prepare for the tragedies that lie ahead. Ancient Egyptians came to America, so did Joseph, and he was their king. Okay? Okay, so as we scroll even further down, see we got this Grand Canyon, Colorado tab. Okay, this diagram was extremely valuable to the Smithsonian archaeologists who were exploring the Powell's Tunnel in the Grand Canyon. It is a diagram, this one up here, of the Egyptian writing symbol used by the ancient Egyptians when they came to the Grand Canyon. Alright, and they say Joseph was their king, right? It was a school tablet that was utilized for teaching Egyptian children to read and write. Coincidentally, the animal and bird hieroglyphs carved into the cliff walls of the Grand Canyon were used to describe various ranks of the king. It is also noteworthy that the rectangle box located at the top of the second row from the left is the Hebrew Ark of the Covenant symbol. Also later, the lower in the same row is a button, which was the Hebrew symbol for the son of the right hand. Right? This is stuff they find in the Grand Canyon. Okay, so you've seen this artifact all around the internet. It's from the Kincaid's Tunnel in the Grand Canyon. This discovery was of great value to the Smithsonian archaeologists. It is King Akhenaten and Queen Nefertiti that their ancestors and the children's name are found on the artifact. The Egyptian name of Zaphnath or Joseph is one of their ancestors. It is recorded that Akhenaten restored the Shemitic religion of Amun in Egypt at Suwar, Egypt. Okay, Akhenaten was the ruler in Egypt from 1353 to 1336 BC, and his son Seteprene was also an Egyptian ruler and was also recorded as a king at Saqqara, Egypt as well. This Egyptian information means that Egyptian kings came to the Grand Canyon at various times, but also made return trips to Egypt. And this, along with some other information I will share, also means that Joseph, son of Jacob, also came to the United States. right? So I just found that crazy, man, that they referring this Egyptian city ran by Joseph. You feel what I'm saying? The Egyptian King Joseph, the Hebrew Egyptian King Joseph, to be in the Grand Canaan in the United States. Okay, you scroll down some more, you know, they're talking about Zoroaster, Joseph, Temple, the Egyptian legend of Zoroaster, more evidence of Joseph. Okay, so, you know, you just check out this, okay, Zoroaster, excuse me, y'all, was in Egypt when times became less prosperous and Egypt was turning into a poor nation. Zoroaster's first name had previously been Joseph because his god was higher and more powerful in the heavens than the sun god of the Egyptians, Ra. After all, it was his god who gave him the ability to interpret Pharaoh's dream. Okay, Zoroaster. Alright, Joseph built an enormous boat and had wings, sails that was able to transport large numbers of people to a place where more grain and gold was discovered for the use of the Egyptians. When he returned to Egypt for his adventurous journey, his boat was loaded with gold and grain, so the Pharaoh made him ruler of Egypt and called him Zaphnath Paaneah. And Pharaoh was like a father to King Zaphnath, right? Alright, so now, they also finding, you know, these artifacts. It goes on to, you know, show the artifacts they found. You know, y'all can check that out. Like I said, all you gotta do is type in Egyptians in America, you'll find that article right there. You know what I'm saying? But they finding artifacts also in the Barrow Caves in Illinois, right? So you got, you know what I'm saying, them also referring to the Grand Canyons being a Egyptian city ruled by King Joseph. But what's crazy about that is, you know, see how they saying they talking about him being named Zaphnath Paaneah to, you know, validate the artifacts they finding. That comes from Genesis chapter 41, right? You go to 41 verse 45. Or we'll start at 44, saying, Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am a Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphnath Paaneah, right? And he gave him to wife Asnath. Check out what it's going to say, the daughter of Pharaoh, priest of On, right? You talking about On, the Egyptian biblical city of On, right? We're going to scroll down just a little bit. Right? And Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of famine came, which Asenath, the daughter of Pharaoh, priest of On, bare him. Right? Go to Genesis chapter 46. Scroll down to verse 20. Unto Joseph in the land of Egypt were born Manasseh and Ephraim, which Asenath, the daughter of Pharaoh, priest of On, bare him. See, Joseph's city is On. You feel what I'm saying? That's why if you go back to the Bible study, right? On, Beth Shemesh, Heliopolis, city of the sun god. Scroll down. Let's see. Check out what you get. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Abode or city of the sun, a town of Lower Egypt called Beth Shemesh. You know what I'm saying? Let's scroll what we want. Okay, look, check this out. It say the first mention of this place is in the history of Joseph. Right? To whom we read Pharaoh gave to wife Asenath, the daughter of Pharaoh, priest of On, right? Okay, the verses that we just went to, right? On, look what it say. On is to be remembered not only as the home of Joseph, but as a traditional place to which his far-off namesake took Mary and the baby Jesus in the flight of Egypt. All right, but what was real, you know what I'm saying, right here is the fact that they say On is to be remembered not only as the home of Joseph, which means it is also to be remembered as the home of Joseph. That's just not the only thing, but On is definitely to be remembered as the home of Joseph. So they saying that You know what I'm saying? Joseph ruled a Egyptian city in the Grand Canyon, but the city of Joseph is Beth Shemesh, right? Or Heliopolis, you know what I'm saying? The city of the sun, but Beth Shemesh, we looking at what? We looking at Peor, Baal Peor, right? As Shemesh, which is the Shemitic sun god. The word for Shemesh, still the Hebrew word for sun, right? You know what I'm saying? The Lord of the house of Horus, literally meaning the Baal of Peor, Lord of the house of Horus. So we getting the Lord of the house of the sun, right? Or the house of the sun, this Egyptian city, ruled by Joseph. You know what I'm saying? But there's Shemitic and Egyptian sun worship going on at this place. You feel what I'm saying? So you can kind of see why we're looking at it with that type of eye. And it being, you know what I'm saying? Because, okay, so, you know, and people wonder why we looking at it, you know what I'm saying? Like, we talking about the Grand Canyon stretching from, like, Utah and, you know, some parts of Colorado, I guess, on into Arizona. But you got Utah. And, like, right here, you got Moab, Utah, right? The Moab Desert. But check this out. I want to show you one thing. I'm going to type in Utah cliff dwelling. Alright, so check this out. You know what I'm saying? Utah cliff dwellings, right? Now look at these places. Now I want you to get a real good look at these places, right? You see that right there? That's you looking at like that right there in there. You feel me? Look at these places. You know what I'm saying? Look at these dwellings right here in Utah. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm gonna ask you something, because you know what I'm saying. Like I say, people may wonder why we looking at the area with this type of biblical eye. But look at these dwellings right here. Now I'm finna read you Jeremiah. We finna go to the book of Jeremiah, right? Chapter 48, judgment of Moab, right? On Moab. So what I want to do is I want to go to the 20th verse. Okay. Now check this out. Let me see. Is this what I want? Let me make sure this is what I want, family. Okay, so it's Jeremiah 48, the 28th verse. Okay, so this is what it say. It say, "O ye that dwell in Moab, okay, leave the cities," right? Take it how you want, all right, "and dwell in the rock." All right. So it say, "and dwell in the rock, and be like the dove that maketh her nest in the sides of the hole's mouth." I'm going to read it one more time. He say, "O ye that dwell in Moab, leave the cities, and dwell in the rock, and be like the dove that maketh her nest in the sides of the hole's mouth." Bam! I mean, like, bro, you don't really get no clearer than that, dude. Look at that place. These people got to dwell in the rock and make their homes like, and be like the dove that maketh her nest in the sides of the hole's mouth of the rock, right? I mean, come on, bro. What I typed in Utah cliff dwelling, didn't I mean, be real with me, family. Does that right there fit that scripture? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, real talk, man. Like, that's crazy. Okay, so now we're looking at, like I say, bring it back, just to kind of, you know, put our thoughts out there, and some of the things we've been looking at. Like, you're looking at, you know, the Utah territory, or the northern part of the Four Corners, as this, you know, possible Moabite, you know, Moab territory. You know what I'm saying? And then you got the Egyptian city that's in the Grand Canyon. Now, when you go to looking at this Egyptian and Moabite history, what you do find is interesting, right? Because remember, they relate the city of Egypt that's in the Grand Canyon of Joseph City. We know Joseph City is On, which is Beth Shemesh, or Beth Shemash, or Beth Peor, possibly. You know what I'm saying? Heliopolis, the city of the sun. Now, but check out what this says. Remember what we say on this, when we was on this to remember not only as the home of Joseph. Alright, now check out what it says right after that sentence. It says, two famous obelisks, right? Long called Cleopatra's Needle, one of which now stands in London and the other in Central Park in New York City, once stood before this city, right? And were seen by the children of Israel before the Exodus. Okay, having been quarried at Sinai on the Nile. Sinai on the Nile. Erected on Heliopolis by Thutmose III, right? BC 1500. But it's the important part. And inscriptions added by Ramesses II, right? Now, what's interesting about that is, hold on one second, family. Okay, so what's interesting about that is, right, you got these inscriptions that was added by Ramesses II on these obelisks in the city of On. Is because when you look up this Moabite and Egyptian relation, one thing you get is you get the Balo stele, right? And the Balo stele is this stele that was it's where you can find the first historical presence of Moab, you know, in recorded history. And it's on the Balo stele, which is it's a Moabite, you know, or Transjordan artifact, but it's also an Egyptian artifact. You feel what I'm saying? So we're gonna dig into that a little bit. Alright, so you know when you go to searching the Balo stele, you'll get this Google book that'll pop up, and it's called Moab in the Iron Age, right? So the Balo stele, right? Let's see. Well, I wanna start. Okay, I'm gonna start right here. It says the scene itself is a familiar one in the royal court of in the royal art of the Egyptian New Kingdom, showing a male deity on the left, investing central, possibly royal figure with divine authority by means of the wide scepter that was probably a second short scepter grafted by his left and his right hands respectively. To the right, goodness, to the right, a female figure grasping an ark symbol presents the king to the male deity, right? In Egyptian art, this female can be either a goddess or a queen, right? We're gonna get into this goddess. So you know what I'm saying? This just going into some of the but check this out right here. Okay, the male deity. Okay, while the general scene is familiar in Egyptian art, many of its details are not. The male deity wears the expected double crown of upper and lower Egypt. However, the crown is encircled by a band just below the pinnacle, as is typical in Egyptian depictions of Canaanite gods, right? So we talk about Egyptian depictions of Canaanite gods, right? Remember, you know what I'm saying? Beth Peor is the name of a Canaanite god, right? That they were worshiping in Moab. The more we find in these Moab ties with Egypt, that will give Peor the same name as what? Horus. You feel what I'm saying? So, right here they talking about the Egyptian depictions of the Canaanite gods of Baal and Reshif on this Balo stele. That is the first written records of Moab, which is an Egyptian, it's an Egyptian artifact. Alright, so continuing on, you know, y'all pause it and catch some of this if you want. I just want to get y'all the little, you know, the little babies and whatnot. Okay. Alright, so let's go up a little bit. Alright, so this is the stele right here. Oh, I'm tripping, man. What am I doing? Yeah, alright, so you see it's clearly an Egyptian artifact, right? Okay, so what's also interesting that I just noticed myself is as we're scrolling, you know, we're still talking about the Balo stele. Right here on this page it say, the scholars have alternatively suggested that it is a variant of Cretan Linear B, whatever that is, the undeciphered late Bronze Age script from Deir Allah, right? Now, that's funny, because remember what we read right here, you know what I'm saying? In Aramaic inscription found at Deir Allah identifies Balaam as a prophet of Shemesh, the Semitic sun god, right? Consequently, identified as Baal Peor is Shemesh, right? So, Shemitic, listen, man, it's one sun in the sky. You feel me? If you Chinese and and he's Indian and you're Greek, you know, y'all looking at the same sun, but you gonna call it this, and you gonna call it that, and the third. You know, it ain't like you gonna be looking at the sun on the earth. You feel me? And then they gonna be talking about the Sirius sun or something, and then the other one gonna be talking about the Palladian sun. No, man, it don't work like that. You feel me? They looking at the same sun. You feel what I'm saying? And the Shemitic, the ones who come from the Shemitic lineage, call it Shamash or Shemesh. And then the ones coming from the Hametic would call it, Horus or Heru or whatever they were dealing with. You feel what I'm saying? Whatever the Canaanites was dealing with. You feel me? And one thing too, I want to say, man, I'm gonna tell you, my brother, man, he got me watching Game of Thrones, man. You know what I'm saying? I never really got him to the show or anything, but he got me watching it. It's pretty, and I ain't gonna lie, it's a pretty good show. But one thing I've been picking up from it is the thing about kingdoms and sigils. You know what I'm saying? Like for example, the Storks, right? I think that's their name, the Storks, Starks. Yeah, the Starks. Their sigil was the wolf, right? Their wolf, like, you know what I'm saying? They'll say, you're a Stark, boy, or you're a wolf. You feel what I'm saying? They got wolf characteristics. They trained the wolf, but that person might have took that sigil to represent their house because he might have resonated with the characteristics of that animal or that object. You know what I'm saying? Like the wolf might got certain characteristics that he feel like he might have. So I was just putting that into perspective, like just thinking about these Egyptian kings and certain kings like that being represented as the sun. You feel what I'm saying? Because they have records of being actual pharaohs that was walking amongst the people. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, dang, bro, if you walking down here as a pharaoh, then you can't be the sun up there at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So it made me think, like, wonder if maybe, like, if you were a glorious king ruling a fertile land and a glorious kingdom, or possibly the whole world, then you might look around for the most powerfulest thing to represent your sigil, your house as your sigil. And since most of them, are pagans and stuff like that, but not even just because they pagans, but even in reality, when you look around, you see one of the most powerful things that's giving life to everything is the sun. You see what I'm saying? So you can take that sun and it can be the sigil of your house. Like you got Horus and Ra and Amun and these people like this. These are supposedly gods, but they at the same time, it's like they're pharaohs. You know what I'm saying? But they're represented by the sun. So maybe that could be the sigil of their royal house. You know what I'm saying? You kind of feel what I'm saying? Because, like, at the end of the day, that's still man worship when you look at it. Because worshiping these people or these pharaohs, ancient ones represented by these celestial beings or bodies. You feel what I'm saying? Just representing their house and their name in totality, but it's them that it's being referenced to. So in all actuality, it's still like man worship when you look at it, because they still like pharaohs at the end of the day. I don't know if y'all can kind of see what I'm saying. I hope y'all can piece that together. I know, what I'm saying, it's kind of crazy, But I was just looking at it like that from the Game of Thrones, man, because you know it's crazy in their writings. They're still like actual pharaohs. You know what I'm saying? Like they sitting on the throne, and Horus founded Egypt, or you know Ra founded Egypt, or Amun founded Egypt for his son Horus. You know what I'm saying? Like certain things like that make you know that these people weren't just actually celestial bodies themselves, but you know they were represented by the celestial bodies. Sorry. So anyway, man, moving on. You know what your boy trying to say. But anyway, so just looking like right here, you can see it say Drayton sees great chronological significance in this, since he believes a local ruler would only have dared to adopt the pharaoh's gala robe in the years immediately after Ramses III. Right, we were talking about Ramses II earlier. Ramses III death, when the Egyptian Levantine Empire began to crumble. Now that's important because we're talking about the Levant, or Moab being, you know, behind Israel, where they got it so-called on the map, but that's kind of in the Levant area. So they talking about Egypt's Levantine Empire. So the Egyptian Empire stretching into the Levant. You see what I'm saying? Empire began to crumble, right? However, the Balo stele is a Egyptianized object that one that uses the iconographic language of Egypt to its own ends. All right, we're gonna keep scrolling because it's something I want to get that's kind of important. Okay, in the Pharaoh-centric world of Egypt, hence, given that earlier Shashu headdress are not only so radically different from those in the reign of Ramses II. All right, just seeing that there. Let's see here. Okay, so Moab in the late Bronze Age. That's what we get. That's what we want to get. Excuse me. Okay, we see some little meat right there, but we're gonna keep it moving, right? Okay, so bam. All right, Moab in the late Bronze Age. Moab appearance as a topic in the text and release a relative of Ramses II presents us with an archaeological problem. Surveys limit excavations. Let me see what this is. All right. Excuse me. Surveys and limb excavations suggest a low-intensity settlement landscapes of small sites, either isolated or in small clusters, whatever or whatever that is, it was evidently small and isolated, despite its probable mention in Ramses II Luxor relics. See above. Any late bronze occupation at Dibon is likely to have been both ephemeral and small. At the site of Balo, excavations have yet discovered late Bronze Age occupation, and they indicate only early iron occupation. Yet we encounter Balo stele with its striking appropriation and yet inverse of Egyptian iconographic convention for local ends. Okay, well, so as you see what I'm saying, the earliest history, see the contradictions are not particularly contradictory when we consider that what we already know from the northern Transjordan, as we saw in late Bronze Age, extremely small settlements served as a sort of nucleus with active and social groups revolving in a balance of loose and firewall relations of dominance. All right. So, like I say, in this Balo stele that was inscribed in the time of Ramses II, was the first recorded history of Moab. You know what I'm saying? And so we're looking at Moab to have something to do with Beth Peor, right? Because they buried Moses in Mount Nebo that is against Beth Peor, right? In Moab. So we're looking at that in the connection that has to Shemesh, Beth Shemesh, which is the city of On, the Egyptian city, Joseph City, which is in the Grand Canyon, right next to Moab. You know what I'm saying? So, just right with me. Okay, so just to kind of get an idea of what was going on in this area, what these folks was really worshiping, you know what I'm saying, what kind of come with sun worship, you know what I'm saying. Right here it says, later commentators tend to suppose that this god might be identical with Chamos. Now Chamos is the Moabite god, he's the god of Moab, right? Who is called the god of Moab, right, in other biblical texts, and sometimes speculate that the coat of Baal Peor was very licentious. Licentious, right? So we're gonna click on Chamos. You know what I'm saying? See what this Chamos about, right? In the Hebrew Bible, Chamos was the god of the Moabites. The etymology of Chamos is unknown. It is speculated to be related to the name of the Babylonian deity Shamash, right? Chamos, Shamash, right? The god of Moab, Baal Peor, Shamash, the sun, you feel what I'm saying? Kamish, you know, Chamos was the national deity of the Moabites, whose name most likely meant destroyer, subduer, fish god. I remember let's talk about that today. Let me see, on the Sabbath lesson. But anyways, you know what I'm saying? According to the Hebrew Bible, worship of this god was the abomination of Moab, right? It was introduced at Jerusalem by Solomon. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, this Chamos is also referred to be Shemesh, and his coat was very licentious. We're gonna go back to that right here, licentious. Gonna get a little idea of what that means. Okay, so licentious, license, freedom, lacking restraint or ignoring societal standards, particularly in sexual conduct, right? Disregarding accepted rules. Licentious in lesson basically it was sexual and perverted, right? Because when you understand Baal Peor, one of the translations of Baal Peor is the god of the opening, right? If Peor is connected to the Hebrew stem per open, use both of mouth and bowels, it might mean opening, and so Baal Peor could mean Lord of the opening. Alright, so family, what I'm gonna need you to do, man, is you know what I did? I went to Google and I typed in Baal Peor, right? Just Baal Peor and videos, right? You'll see this video. I think like the first video that'll come up, the worship of Baal Peor. What you can do, you can pause this video right now and go watch that video real quick. It's just 9 minutes, you know what I'm saying? Or just catch it. I'm gonna try to play it, but you know it might be acting up. So, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna see how it goes. The worship of Baal Peor, the Lord of the opening. So how you turn into satanic worship. Video review one of the examples of such worship. Who is Baal Peor? In ancient times, Baal was considered a sun god. In the Bible, Baal is commonly used to refer as a reference to Satan, and it was a Semitic word that means Lord or owner. Peor means cleft or gap, and the word pa'ar means opening. The cleft or opening which Peor was referred to was the woman's vagina, right? The counterpart Baal was the goddess Ashtaroth. Temple Baal, you would have typically wouldn't call Ashtaroth. Okay, so you see, you know, the opening is referred to something sexual, right? The rites of Baal Peor. It was very licentious, while all sexual immortality gives homage to Baal. Worship of Baal Peor was considered to be among the most obscene. In his honor, those of the cult of Baal Peor would expose themselves, bow down to the ground with bottoms up, eat from the place associated with body waste. Temple had dedicated prostitutes. Listen, man, would eat from their cliff. Listen, man, this is some sexual shit. The effect of the worship of Baal Peor. Female and male prostitutes. The act itself glorified the feminine principle that's very important. He had to sacrifice his manhood just to join the act. Well, you can, or in the case, feminize himself. Well, if history don't repeat itself, well, I'm gonna tell you. See, when you digging into what these people worship, man, and what our people used to worship, you can see ain't nothing changed. It's all the same, man. This is feminine worship of the female. You feel what I'm saying? Her womb, her vagina, that opening, that matrix. That might be why in Utah on the walls you see them have you always see this target or this little vortex, you know what I'm saying, this swirl. I don't know, man. We just digging, though. We just building. But I think I'm gonna stop right there. Now, what they finna do is they finna go into a Lil' Kim video, show the correlate how nasty and how it's basically just inducing Baal Peor worship, which is this feminine, sexual, licentious worship. You feel what I'm saying? Now y'all catch that. But I think I got what I kind of wanted out that video, so you know what I'm saying, we're going to keep it moving. Just to show you a little bit more, when you search Baal Peor, it will tell you Baal Peor in the Bible expand, Lord of the opening, right? Worship by obscene rites. So you can see, again, this is some very obscene shit. Okay, now, so what's interesting about this, you know what I'm saying, is, okay, so as we coming back to this Peor tab and this translation right here that we've been working with, it said literally meaning the Baal of Peor, the Lord of the house of Horus, right? So, it's like we're connecting the Baal Peor with the Shemitic sun god Chamos, which is the sun, right? And then there's also a connection of Baal Peor to a Baal Shemesh, which would be a Hametic sun god, the Lord of Horus, right? Now, that Hametic connection to the term, I don't think is completely invalid. It has some significance to it because we're gonna get into that, right? Because of this right here, right? The house of Horus. Now, when you look up the house of Horus, what you get is the term Het Haru, right? Het meaning house, Haru meaning Haru or Horus, right? Now, this is also a goddess. You feel what I'm saying? This is also a goddess. And her name is also Hathor. So we're going to dig in on Hathor, right? Okay. You can see the Haru, the Het Haru, Hathor goddess. You know what I'm saying? Het Haru or Hathor. Alright, so we're going to dig on Hathor. As you can see, Hathor, she's represented by the sun. So that could be her sigil. Her house is sigil. You feel what I'm saying? But Hathor, right? Meaning mansions of Horus. Right? Mansion is what? Is a house, right? So, okay, mansions of Horus, house of Horus, is an Egyptian goddess who personified the principles of joy, feminine love, and motherhood, right? She is one of the most important popular deities throughout ancient Egypt. Hathor was worshipped by royalty and common people alike. Okay, and check this out. In tomb painting, she is often depicted as mistress of the West. Mistress of the West. Okay, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's crazy right there. But you know what I'm saying? We're gonna dig into this goddess a little bit more. Okay, so when you come right here, say Hathor is commonly depicted as a cow goddess, right, with horns. Okay, that is an important drop. Pay attention. In which, you know, it's said the sun disk, Urias, whatever, twin feathers are sometimes shown. Okay, Hathor may be the cow goddess who is depicted from an early date on the Namir Paletic and on a stone urn dating from the first dynasty that suggests a role as sky goddess and a relationship to Horus, right? Because now check out what it's going to say. Who, as a sun god, is housed in her. Alright? I'll read that again. Okay? As her role as a sky goddess and a relationship to Horus, who as a sun god is housed in her. Right? Thus she is the what? The mansion of Horus, or Het Haru, the house of Horus, right? Okay, so we're gonna come right here to this article I found on Het Haru, right? I want to jump right here to this second paragraph. It says Het Haru has its seat in the gonads. Alright, I ain't gotta say. Its Hametic name is an indication of this fact, right? Okay, so it's Hametic is an indication of this fact. Okay, Het Haru literally means house, Het of Haru, so house of Haru, right? Or house of Horus. Haru corresponds to the solar, sun, metabolic phase factors responsible for the virilization and masculinization of adult male of the species, the metaphysic forces behind the production of androgen. In Yoruba traditions, Haru is Shango. Okay. We're gonna jump down. Hold on, no. It said with Het Haru though, the house of Horus, Hathor, the emphasis is not on the hot gonadal expression of Haru, but on the cool, peaceful, joyous, refined, charming sexual arousal and seductive behavior that stimulates the production of estrogen and the female reproductive system. Alright, so that's you know. Okay, concealed from the knowledge of the majority of the people is the fact that sexual arousal is an expression of the arousal of the life force Ra. Okay, so what they're doing is they practicing a cult under this goddess of a very sexual and feminine worshiping, very female worshiping system in order to try to get sexually aroused to rouse that life force, which is Ra. So you can kind of see what we're kind of building right here, right? Alright, so Het Haru was considered the principal female counterpart of the deity Ra. Now that's important, right? Because this goddess, this female goddess, is the female counterpart to the Egyptian or the Hametic sun god, right? Now that's important because she is also referred to as Ashtaroth. We're going to get into that, but so you can see how there is a Shemitic sun god having a tie to this female counterpart that's the same counterpart as this Hametic sun god. We're gonna get into a lot of that, but you know what I'm saying, just rock with me. So you know, we're gonna jump down. Now this is kind of what I want to get right here. This is important. This is what kind of hit me, right? It say in her role as the imaginative faculty, she is Nebt Het, right? Check this out. The lordess of the house. Okay, so if she is Nebhet, you say this house of course is spirit. Okay, she is Nebhet. Who is she? She is Het Haru. She is lordess of the house. The house of what? The house of Heru, right? So she is Nebhet Haru, which is the lordess of the house, right? So that's kind of crazy because remember what we were looking at for Peor when we was, you know what I'm saying? They say the literal meaning of Baal of Peor is the lord of the house of Horus, right? Peor, right? And also Chamos, right? Shemesh, Baal, Peor had a very life-continuous cult, very sexual cult, right? Linking back to this Egyptian pantheon and religion. Y'all feel me? So the lord of the house of Horus is what they get in Baal of Peor, because remember what they told you. You know what I'm saying? Baal Peor is the same as Beth Peor, and it's contracted from Baal Beth Peor. So Beth is house, Baal is lord, Peor is sun god. You feel me? Whether it be Shemesh or Horus. You know what I'm saying? So they're trying to tell us that Baal of Peor is the lord of the house of Horus. These jokers over here telling us that the house of Horus, the lord is of the house of Horus, you know what I'm saying, is Het Haru Hathor, this god which encompassed the same thing as what these folks was worshiping in Moab and in this Egyptian city. Y'all feel me? So we're going to keep it rocking. Alright, we're going to go over to the crystal links. We're going to dig on Hathor. Remember, she's the mistress of the West, right? She ain't my main, she my mistress. You got a mistress and you doing some sexual, you ain't got no business doing. You know, I don't, you know, I'm just saying. You know, y'all know what it is. We just build. I hope y'all feeling good out there, man. You know, loosen up a little bit. I know we just hitting it head on, you know what I'm saying, with the information, but at the same time, I still love you, man. We just building, you know, and theorizing, or however you say it. And I appreciate y'all for rocking with me, because I know I'm not the best, person to be presenting information and talking to people, because, you know what I'm saying, my grammar ain't, I don't know what English is. You feel me? So I just appreciate y'all, man, for just humbling yourselves to just get the information, you know, and not pay so much attention to the messenger and all kinds of things like that, you know. So as we scroll, you know, y'all just view some of this, you know, kind of skim through it fast with your eyes, kind of get it if you can. I kind of know, I know something on here I want to read, but just showing y'all these pictures, right? Yeah, man, so fertility goddess, okay. Let me see if this is what I want. Okay, now check this out. Fertility goddesses say the cow's large eyes with long lashes and generally quiet demeanor were often considered to suggest a gentle aspect of feminine beauty. There are still cultures in the world that say a girl is pretty as a heifer. Is a great compliment, rather than taking you cow as an insult. I don't know what that means. And so Hathor rapidly became a goddess of beauty, fertility, and thus as patron goddess for lovers, right? A tale grew up around this in which Ra, okay, is described as having been upset over Horus' victory over Set, representing the conquest in 300 BC of Lower Egypt by Upper Egypt, and went off to be alone. And so Hathor went to him and started to dance and strip naked, okay, alright, showing him her genital, which cheered him up, so he returned, right? This made certain readers believe that the sun god was extremely perverted. Bam, you feel what I'm saying? You see where we're going here? Which may be true. The tale is thought to be described as a solar eclipse, which, as it depicts Ra, the sun going away to sulk, then returning when cheered up. You feel what I'm saying? In her position as a female fertility goddess who readily strips naked. You feel me? Prostitutes, they stripping and shit, like, you know what I'm saying, bro? Like, you see what the children of Israel was getting into back then, now you see what they getting into now. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing changed. You know what I'm saying? She was often depicted in red, the color of passion, through, and you know, by the hand of these other nations too, because this shit they be getting into. She was often depicted in red, the color of passion, though her sacred color is turquoise, and so gained the title Lady of the Scarlet Colored Garment and Lady of the Sexual Offerings, Neb, Hetepet, and Egyptian. You feel me? So, okay, sometimes her fertility aspect depicted symbolically as fields of reason. Anyway, the most important thing out of here though is this story, right? Ra being upset, okay, and he went off to be alone, and Hathor went in front of him, started stripping and getting naked, showing him the genitals. That now, you feel me, to cheer him up, and he returned, right? Remember what they said about this practice. You know what I'm saying? To conceal from the knowledge of the majority of the people is the fact that the sexual arousal is an expression of the arousal of the life force, which is Ra. So through worship, the worship of this God, the worship of the Yoni, the God of the opening, the vagina, that matrix, that womb, the sexual coat, you know what I'm saying? They're stimulating Ra, because remember, Ra, is housed in her. So she's the womb, she's the matrix. Through the matrix, you get to the sun God, right? You know what I'm saying? Through this specific pantheon. So I hope y'all can follow me on that. Alright, so let's keep it moving. Position, don't think I want anything from that. Wife of Star. When Horus was identified as Ra under the name Ra Harakti, Hathor's position became unclear, so she became the wife of Ra, but the mother of Horus. So you kind of feel. You see how I get rocky on you? Just check out, just pause if you want to catch this right here. You'll see how the pantheon get rocky. Because even when we was talking about, you know what I'm saying, the city of Heliopolis, right? Although in later times, as Horus gained prominence, worship focused on the syncretic solar deity Ra Harakti, literally Ra, who is Horus of the two horizons. You see what I'm saying? So, like I say, you can kind of see. So basically, but the point is, you're getting House of Sun, House of Ra, House of Horus. You get House of Sun. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna keep it rocking. Okay, now Hathor outside the Nile. We want to get this. Hathor was worshipped in Canaan, Canaanite god, right? You feel me? We're linking her with Chamos, which is linked to Beth Peor, Shemitic. You feel what I'm saying? Keep it moving. In the 11th century, which at the time was ruled by Egypt, at her holy city Hazor, Tel Hazor, which in the Old Testament claims was destroyed by Joshua. Okay, the Sinai tablets show that the Hebrew workers in the mines of Sinai about 1500 worship Hathor, who was identified with the goddess Astarte. Now check that out, because they worship in the calf, right? Right, when Moses went up on Mount Sinai, they were down there. They built a golden calf and they were worshiping. Right, you would think that they got like a Babylonian reference with the calf. But at the same time, it also got an Egyptian reference because Hathor is a cow goddess, right? We're going to keep it rocking. Some theories state that the golden calf mentioned in the Bible was meant to be a statute of judgment. Hathor, Exodus, chapter and verse. Although it is more likely to be a representation of the two golden calves set up by Rehoboam, an enemy of the Levite priesthood, which marked the borders of his kingdom. The Greeks also loved Hathor and equated her with the own goddess of love and beauty, Aphrodite. Some ancient texts refer to a serpent of light residing in the heavens. This is believed to have been inspired by the Milky. Oh my goodness! Look at that. Now we know the Milky Way is a spiral, right? You find in the petroglyphs and the hieroglyphs all over the four corners, you find that symbol. I don't know, I find that kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so we're going to keep going. In general, the Ethiopian in general, the Egyptian god and Egyptian religion did not travel. The ancient Egyptians were insular, not overly interested in importing and exporting deities. Eventually, Isis would become the great exception, with temples in Rome throughout, Okay, Hathor was trailblazing predecessor. Beyond the tradition borders of Egypt and Nubia, Hathor was worshipped throughout Semitic West Asia, but loved particularly in the city of Babylon. Okay? Hence, the reference to the Beth Shemesh, right? That's the Shemitic way of saying house of sun. But she is the house of the sun, right? Alright. Okay, she was adored as far afield as what is modern Ethiopia, Somalia, and Libya. The seed of what would be universally beloved within Isis existed within Hathor. Okay, see if there's anything in Mesopotamia. Jump right here. The beautiful and stylish, ever youthful and fierce Ishtar dressed her hair this way. So do the beautiful Western Semitic love and war goddess Anat Astarte, who would be eventually achieve the great popularity in ancient Egypt, perhaps the only foreign deity to do so. They would become incorporated into Egyptian mythology, serving as designated constellation bride for Set in the face-saving compromise that includes his loss to Horus. Anat and Astarte, the ancient equivalent of hot foreign babes, of course, were only the most stylish hairdo. Okay, but so when you check it out, man, like really this Hathor goddess is Ishtar, because what? Ishtar is the Babylonian or Sumerian goddess of fertility, right? Hathor is the Egyptian goddess of fertility. You see that they're dealing, you both got houses of sun worship in the Shemitic and Hametic culture. So you can see right there that they would kind of have the similarities with the female goddess. You feel what I'm saying? Because that female goddess got a tie to that male goddess. Like Baal is tied with Ashtaroth, right? And Haru or Horus would be tied to Het Haru or Hathor. You feel what I'm saying? So just take all that in perspective. Make sure that's everything we want. Okay, now this article right here, man, this article got some drop. You know what I'm saying? I ain't even gonna lie. We gonna check out this, but this article got some drop, right? It said this picture of Hathor was made by Susan and Lexa, right? Het Haru Hathor, a goddess of love, beauty, happiness, and fertility. Also the goddess of the sky and the heaven. She was everything that is true and good. All that is the best in wife, mother, and daughter, goddess of singers, dancers, artists, of the vine, of beer, joy, happiness. She was identified with the star self, which is the star search. She was just like a party goddess, man. Just have fun, good time, and, feminine, and women dancing and stripping, and you know what I'm saying? Like just shaking their ass. But alright, so the goddess Het Haru is black skinned. Okay, because of the help of the protection of Hathor, the dead are able to obtain everlasting life. Het Haru and Het Hurt are both the names of the goddess. Het Haru means house of Horus, right? Since Horus, the elder, Haru was also seen as the sun god, the house of Horus is part of the sky where the sun passes by. Het Hurt means the house above, so the sky or heaven. Shamayim. Right. The religion of Hathor is immense in antiquity. Hathor was the mother of light, thus connected to the first action of creation, the creation of light in the Egyptian view upon creation. Before there was an Egyptian civilization as we know it. Do you want anything in there? Hold on, let me see y'all, family. Oh no, let's see. Before there was an Egyptian civilization as we know it, her religion was already in existence. The goddess religion was in existence in southeastern Europe since directly after the melting ice caps around. Okay. The priestesses in old civilizations wore cow horns, with moon symbol between the horns, right? Okay, now that's interesting. We're going to get into that a little bit. The old civilization knew the art of writing, which recently had been identified as hieroglyphs far before the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. Okay, this is important information. There is a direct relationship between the ancient goddess civilization and the ancient Egyptian religion, certainly through Hathor. Okay. As the cow goddess, she is the lady of the Holy Land. Hey, look at this. Okay. Remember that Dome of the Rock drop? Huh? Remember what it looked like? I'm gonna show you what they finna call her. Which means the country where people risen up from the dead are staying. Where the flocks come to lie down after they've left their cells and their graves. You feel what I'm saying? When they come to be revived and be brought back with the Most High. Okay, the worship of Hathor was universal in the whole of Egypt during all millenniums of Egyptian civilization. Okay. Hathor is a multiple goddess appearing in multiple personalities at the same moment. Sometimes she is seen in 18 personalities. Also in 12 Hathors, sometimes in 8 personalities. But the appearance of 7 Hathors were generally accepted. The 7 goddesses have tambourines in their hands and tight-fitting dresses, and have the cow horns with the disc on their heads. The 7 Het Heru, multiple goddess, are the prophetic Faris, whatever that is. In this way, she is connected with the goddess Pele, and is also the manifold of a sister. Keep rocking with me, y'all. Keep rocking with me. It's finna get deep. She's sometimes depicted with the head of a lion. Okay. Her temple service was done by priestesses. The priestesses had the big Het Heru Hathor crown on their heads. This crown had 2 cow horns with the moon disk in between. In the hot climate of ancient Egyptian, there were naked holy women. See what I'm saying? The priestesses and the worshippers of this cult was doing really sexual licentious things, like the worship of Chamos or Shemesh or Beth Peor. Y'all see what we've been saying, but we're gonna scroll down a little bit. There's some interesting things now what they're saying here. Okay, right here it says she is identified with the Greek goddess Aphrodite. Right, turquoise is a holy stone. She is the queen of the 4 corners of the universe. In the ancient goddess religion, the cross is used often to point to the 4 corners of the universe. Dog, bro, I don't think this shit can really get any more like connected, dog. I ain't gonna lie. This crazy, bro. 4 corners. We talking about the 4 corners region in an area where this goddess is worshipped. I don't think I have to keep being redundant. You know, we're gonna keep rocking. I know I've been just talking y'all ear off, you know what I'm saying? Trying to just express it, you know what I'm saying? Can't find the right words, but you know, I'm building these connections with y'all as I'm, you know, presenting information. This is also a known symbolism in the New Testament. Her holy tree is the maple tree. Okay, let's see. Check this out. The Moses, Aaron, Miriam religion had the calf as a holy animal, which is also holy to Hathor. That's crazy. Okay, because I'm gonna show you what they're gonna say down here about Moses. Let's get this shit out of the way. Alright, y'all keep rocking with me. Let me see where it's at. Let me see. Alright. Hathor, lady of Amentet, the dweller in the great land, the lady of Ta Tesheret, the eye of Ra. Hathor, oh, check this out. Hathor was respected in Babylon, Lebanon, with the name Baalat. Lebanon, right, with a theta. You know what I'm saying? This god was respected in Lebanon as well. Babylon was a well-known place with the Hebrews. From Babylon came forth the first alphabet. Okay, we're getting some stuff. The 10 tribes of the Hebrews called their god Baal instead of Yahweh, and used bull-like statues in their temple, right? It is almost sure that neighboring countries like Moab at the time saw no difference between Baal and the Jewish religion. See what I'm saying? Bull-like statues in their temple. Moab and them seen no difference between their god and that, because they were worshiping what? Hathor, or Baal Shemesh, Baal Peor, which is the cow goddess, this sexual, deviant, licentious cult. You feel what I'm saying? Only after the Babylonian exile, to return to exile, Hebrew slaves introduced a difference between Baal, Baalat, right, of Lebanon, and the Jewish and the Yahweh religion, and started destroying the Baal, Baalat temple, killing the believers. Right? You see how Baal is in conjoint with Baalat, which is Hathor is Baalat. You feel me? And Baal is the sun god, which would be corresponding to Horus. Now check out what this says. Okay. Moses was wearing cow horns, Quran, on his head according to the original Hebrew text. See also the statue of Moses by Michelangelo. Aaron made a golden calf at Mount Sinai, which indicates a relation with the Hathor religion, the altar of the Hebrew temples, and the cow horns on the corners. Now, what I find funny about that, okay, now check this out. I'm going to read all this, right? I'm going to read all this because it's very important, okay? Okay, so continue to say, very surely the original religion of the Hebrew tribes was a Hathor religion. Very certain this type of altars was also destroyed by the Yahweh group. Anyway, in archaeological excavations, these destroyed altars have been found. Another important symbol for the Hebrew religion was the snake, which is one of the 4 symbols of Hathor. Now check this out now. Moses had a rod with a snake upon it. While the Hebrews were living in Exodus out of ancient Egypt, the snake on the rod of Moses is seen by Protestants as an image of Christ, giving salvation to believers. Alright? Because whoever looked at the snake healed of the poison and would not die. See the story in the Old Testament. Okay, so now what's interesting about this little section right here is the fact that they say that Moses in the time of Exodus is wearing cow horns, right? He wearing cow horns, you know, and then Aaron and them, you know, the Israelites down there, they made a golden calf, right? Possibly to this goddess Hathor, right? And then, you know, another symbol of Hathor was the snake. So Moses had 2 symbols of Hathor according to this right here, which was the cow horns and the snake, right? And the snake was a rod of salvation, right? Because whoever looked upon it, it gave salvation to believers. Whoever looked upon the snake was healed of the poison and whatnot. Now, what's interesting is that because when you go back to that Lex Will video, check this out.
In local Native American lore, the Hopi Indians have lived in the Grand Canyon area for thousands of years. They have legend that tells the story of the ant people.
Remember the ant people? See the horns on top of their head?
See the tail. Here's the leg.
See the snake?
Here's the paving and serpent.
Now I find this crazy, man, because this is Grand Canyon.
Who during times of disaster helped the Hopi and escorted them into subterranean caves where they found refuge and food. The ant people were said to be generous and very advanced. See the horns on this one? The horns start at the top and curve down towards the mouth. Those can't be gigantic monkey ears carved in. You see him holding hands and he's carrying a dagger in the dark? They gave the Hopi food and taught them all about food storage. Also, let's bring this interesting bit of information.
Alright. So, Bob. So, you see right there on the walls of the Grand Canyon, they talking about, they got a story of ant people. They call them ant people, right? They got horns on them. You feel what I'm saying? And they got a staff, you know what I'm saying, with a snake. Okay, so you see this picture right here? You know what I'm saying? Okay, you got these, you got a lot of Egyptian depictions of their gods holding, you know, serpents and things like that. Look at this petroglyph. What that look like? Where does that look like that's at? You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, let me see something right quick. Let me go back. Okay, you see this is a statue of Hathor holding the serpent. You know what I'm saying? But now remember what the article said. Moses wearing cow horns, right, which was a Hathor, which is part of the Hathor religion, as well as another symbol for Hathor was a snake. So you got this this hieroglyph in the canyons of these ant people. You see they got horns and he got he holding like a snake staff. You feel what I'm saying? and they said that they brought food and they were advanced and you know what I'm saying, this and that, but they called them the ant people. You know, and I just feel like maybe possibly, okay, I remember Solomon telling the children of Israel to consider the ant ye sluggard, meaning to embody the characteristics of an ant. You know, how an ant works together and how it builds. So you got a people that's coming out of Egypt as a strong tribe that has the ability to build pyramids, temples, and mounds and stuff like the ant build their mounds and work together. You feel what I'm saying? So maybe these people with Moses passing through, you know, the land of Moab or whatever, they seen these people and was like, you know what I'm saying, hey, and maybe these people, you know, they called them the ant people because they were like the ant. Possibly it's just a, you know what I'm saying, we're just building. So, you know, moving forward, man, we're gonna go over to I think one of the last articles. This is about Hathor. You know what I'm saying? Just to prove, and, you know, more build on her sexual and, you know, licentious cult. Let me see, I'm gonna read. She was originally a personification of the Milky Way. Oh my goodness, dog. Hold on. Okay, man, so this is getting crazy, right? So we're looking at Hathor, right? Her name is Het Heru, which means house of Horus. She is the lordess of the house, so she's the lordess of the house of Horus, right? She has a connection with Horus. Horus is the sun god, so she's the house of the sun. The sun is inside of her. You feel what I'm saying? She is worshipped in a sexual way. Her yoni, you know what I'm saying? There's a representation of the yoni, that vagina, you know, that thing, that cat. You feel what I'm saying? So, you know, and through that, you then receive the light or arouse that, through that sexual arousing, you then what? Provoke that life force or arouse that life force, which is Ra. And, you know what I'm saying, that's why Ra is housed in her. But, you know what I'm saying, but she is in connection with, you know, Beth Shemesh, the house of the sun, because of the Semitic worship of her. You know what I'm saying? Which then corresponds to Beth Shamash or Beth Peor. So we're looking at her in this four corners area with this Moab, Utah, and Colorado, or Arizona, New Mexico, and this Grand Canyon area. But check this out though, man. Hathor, right? She was originally a personification of the Milky Way, which was considered to be the milk that flowed from the udders of a heavenly cow, right? Linking her with Nutbat Meheret, right? Because she was also the cow goddess, right? And then after any other cow goddess of ancient Egypt, right? So she was originally a personification of the Milky Way. This is the Milky Way, right? Well, look right here when I Google the petroglyphs that's in the four corners. I mean, I don't know, man. You see this swirl symbol a lot, this target. You feel what I'm saying? I Googled four corners petroglyph. You know, here you got the people with the horns again. You feel what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know, man. What's up with that? You know, look at that. They call it Target. You know what I'm saying? It's a Target cave that got, it's a big one in there. They call it Target cave. You know what I'm saying? But I just find that to be fucking crazy, right? Alright, so she was a personification of the Milky Way, right? Beth Peor, the Lord of the Opening, right? Okay, as time passed, she absorbed the attributes of many other goddesses, but also became more closely associated with Isis, who to some degree usurped her position as the most popular and powerful goddess, yet she remained popular throughout Egyptian history. More festivals were dedicated to her, and more children were named after her than any other goddess in ancient Egypt. Her worship was not confined to Egypt and Nubia. She was worshipped throughout Semitic West Asia, Ethiopia, and Somalia, Libya, but was particularly venerated in the cities of Babylon, because she is Asherah, or Astarte, or Ishtar. It's all the same person. It's all the same principles. It's all the same deity. Remember, your boy Cush, he was the son of Ham, right? He went into the Sumerian, or the Shemitic land and set up Babylon. That's a Hametic city on the Shemitic land. So this Shemitic and Hametic, you know what I'm saying? Sun god worship, it's all the same principles, just looked at from different, you know, tribal people. You feel what I'm saying? But look, the mistress of heaven, right? Let's see what else we can find on. Let me see. Okay, Hathor was especially connected with the fragrance myrrh incense, which was considered to be very precious and to embody all of the finer qualities of the female sex. She was the patron of miners and the goddess of the Sinai Peninsula, and located in the famous mines. The Egyptians used eye makeup made from okay. She was the patron of dancers and was associated with percussion music, particularly the sistrum, which was also a fertility fetish. You see what I'm saying? Now check it out now. Was also associated with the Menet necklace, which may also have been a percussion instrument, and was often known as the Great Menet. Many of her priests and artisans, musicians, and dancers who added to the quality of life of the Egyptians and worship her by expressing their artistic nature. Hathor was the incarnation of dance and sexuality, and was given the epithet hand of God, referring to the act of masturbation. Okay, so you can see, man. Alright, two, and Lady of the Vulva, or the vagina. Alright, so man, so as we can see, you know, on the heresy of Peor, the joining of Peor, you know what I'm saying, as it says, later commenters tend to suppose that this god may be identical with Chamos, speaking of Baal Peor, who is called the god of Moab in other biblical texts, and sometimes speculate that the cult of Baal was very licentious, right? Now remember, licentious was lacking restraint or ignoring societal standards, particularly in sexual conduct. Basically, when you look up, promiscuous and unprincipled in sexual matters, right? Licentious, right? Unprincipled in sexual matters. Another definition, disregarding accepted rules or conventions in grammar or literary style. Basically, then you're doing whatever you want to do. You feel me? Full of license. Like I say, freedom, doing whatever you want to do. And being very sexual, like I say right here, lacking legal or moral restraints, especially disregarding sexual restraints. right? Because in the worship of this God, let me see where we at. Let me go back. Alright, so in the worship of this God, right, Baal Peor, you find their cult to be what? Disregarding sexual limitations. Or you know what I'm saying? Being very sexual and free to do whatever the hell you want to do. In this cult of Baal or Chamos, which is Shamash, which is the Shemitic sun god, which we're referring to be Beth Shemesh, you know, like a Beth Peor. What we're trying to figure out is if there's a connection between Beth Peor and Beth Shemesh, because if they're gonna say Peor is the lord of the house of the horse, sun god, you feel what I'm saying? And they find in that Egyptian city right here in the Grand Canyon, right next to Moab, right next to Utah, where you would have found the cedar trees and the worship of Baal Peor amongst the cedar trees in the fort. You feel what I'm saying? So we just building those connections, man. I appreciate you guys for rocking with me. You know what I'm saying? And just looking at that, man. You know, looking at these territories. Look at this, like this old map, Utah territory. You know what I'm saying? So we're just trying to figure out, man, what's going on. You feel what I'm saying? You know, do we have the Moabites up here, and do we have an Egyptian presence in a Shemitic region? You know what I'm saying? That could be the biblical city of On, of Joseph, like they find it to be. I don't know, family. You know what I'm saying? I just want to give all thanks and praise to the Most High. And remember, you know what I'm saying, what we shooting for, what we going for, what we aiming for, what we looking at, what we trying to do, how we trying to move. You know, we just trying to piece together our legacy, you know what I'm saying, and trying to find our way back to the Creator. You know, trying to get amongst some sacred trees and vibrate, trying to get amongst those silicon crystals. Some silicon trees, you know what I'm saying, them roots, them crystals, the mountains. You know what I'm saying? When you look up the etymology of Utah, you get Yudah, right? Which is Judah, but they say it means people of the mountain, right? So understand that that's you, Judah. You know what I'm saying? The people of the mountain, the people that go amongst the mountain. Remember what he say? When it's time to do what it's time to do, you know what I'm saying? You go amongst the mountains, man. You go amongst the sacred vibration. You know what it is, family. I just wanted to hit y'all with that, man. So let me know what y'all think about that. Do you think, you know, how you feel about that information, man? Could that possibly be the city? You know what I'm saying? Could what they're finding in the Grand Canyon, could that have anything to do with the biblical city of On? They say, you know, they came from Egypt to over here, but hey, maybe it was over here first, then they went over there. You feel what I'm saying? Well, Joseph was having interaction between the city in Illinois and, you know, along the Mississippi River and the Burrow Caves and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. I'm just building with y'all, family. Like I say, I give all thanks and praise for the opportunity to come to commune with y'all. And I hope y'all find the information great. You know what I'm saying? I hope you able to dissect it accordingly, with a rightful spirit of discernment. And like I say, man, we just building, you know what I'm saying? Trying to just theorize and piece things together. You know, ain't nothing really set in stone. You know what I'm saying? Not saying this is what it is or this is what it is, but we're looking. We're looking to see what we can find, man, because we done flipped the whole script on them. Like they say, man, we basically rewriting this joke. Like the brother Lex Will say, man, write this shit down, publish that shit. We basically rewriting it because we talking about a history in a whole nother land. If there's no validity in what we saying, you know what I'm saying, brothers and sisters, bro, then we should not be able to validate this much history, this much biblical history in this land. You feel me? So I leave y'all with that peace and blessings and shalom. Keep it rocking, keep the commandment, and stay vibrating high.